Ladies and gentlemen, every one of us was created with purpose, with dignity, and with immense value. Yet too often, we confuse availability with importance. We think that by being everywhere, saying yes to everything and giving ourselves away without boundaries, we will be loved, accepted, or needed. But hear me clearly, your value is not determined by how many people can reach you. It is determined by how much you respect yourself. When you learn to respect yourself enough to protect your time, your energy, and your purpose, you elevate your worth. You stop being cheap and common, and you become precious and rare. You are not designed to be a doormat. You are designed to be a doorway to greatness. So today I want to challenge you, don't just be available, be valuable. Because when you carry yourself with respect, the world will begin to treat you the way you treat yourself. Value begins with self-respect, not people's approval. This is one of the most powerful truths a person can ever embrace in their journey of growth and purpose. Too many people live their entire lives searching for approval from others, adjusting their identity, their choices, and even their values to fit into what society, friends, or family expect of them. They sacrifice their uniqueness at the altar of people's validation, hoping to feel important, yet constantly ending up empty. The reason is simple: value does not come from outside opinions. It is born from the way you see and treat yourself. When you recognize that your worth is not defined by the applause of men, but by the respect you give yourself, you stop living as a slave to people's expectations and start living as the person God designed you to be. Self-respect is the foundation of true confidence. It is not arrogance or pride. Rather, it is the quiet assurance that you are valuable, that you matter, and that you deserve to be treated with honor. When you cultivate self-respect, you no longer beg for recognition. You no longer compromise your standards just to belong. You walk with a sense of dignity that says, I know who I am, and I don't need your approval to validate me. This shift in mindset is what separates those who live authentically from those who are constantly performing for others. Respecting yourself means you give yourself permission to say no when necessary, to walk away from environments that diminish you, and to pursue paths that align with your true identity, even if others don't understand. When you do not respect yourself, you leave the door wide open for others to misuse and devalue you. People will only treat you at the level you treat yourself. If you act like your time, your presence, and your energy are cheap, people will treat them as disposable. But when you set a standard by respecting yourself first, others are forced to recognize that standard. They may not always like it, but they will acknowledge it. Think about a diamond and a common stone. The diamond is not valuable because everyone can touch it. It is valuable because it is rare, it is treated with care, and it is protected. Your self-respect is what turns you from common to precious. Many times, people compromise their self-respect because of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of loneliness, or fear of missing out pushes them into saying yes to everything and everyone. But in doing so, they dilute their value. Approval-driven living is exhausting because no matter how much you give, it is never enough. There will always be someone who thinks you should do more, be more, or give more. That's why anchoring your value in self-respect is liberating. You no longer have to chase affirmation. Instead, you live from a place of wholeness. You accept that not everyone will approve of you, and that's perfectly fine because you were not created to please everyone. You were created to fulfill a purpose. Self-respect also affects the way you dream, set goals, and pursue opportunities. A person who lacks self-respect settles for less, accepts toxic relationships, tolerates disrespectful behavior, and often sabotages their own potential because they don't believe they deserve better. But a person with self-respect thinks differently. They say, I am worthy of a meaningful life. I am worthy of healthy relationships. I am worthy of pursuing excellence. This inner conviction pushes them to demand more from life, not out of entitlement, but out of alignment with their true worth. They understand that being valuable sometimes means stepping back, being selective, and not allowing every demand to pull them in different directions. It is important to understand that self-respect is not built in a day. It is cultivated through consistent decisions where you choose yourself, your standards, and your values over the pressure to conform. It comes from daily affirmations, personal growth, and reminding yourself of your identity. It comes from refusing to settle for disrespect in any form, whether from others or even from yourself. Because sometimes the greatest enemy of self-respect is the voice in your own head that tells you that you are not enough. Confronting that voice and replacing it with truth is essential in building the foundation of respect. Ultimately, your value begins when you decide that you are no longer waiting for someone else to tell you that you matter. It begins when you take ownership of your life and declare that your worth is not negotiable. You are not valuable because people like you. You are not valuable because people choose you. You are valuable because you respect yourself enough to see the greatness inside of you and treat it with honor. Once you embrace this, you stop chasing the fleeting approval of others and start living with the unshakable confidence that true value flows from within. And when that happens, the world will begin to treat you as the valuable person you already are. Boundaries protect your purpose and your peace. Without boundaries, life becomes a constant tug of war between your priorities and the demands of others. You find yourself saying yes when you want to say no, giving away energy you don't have, and stretching yourself so thin that you lose sight of what truly matters. Boundaries are not about being selfish or unkind. They are about recognizing that your time, your mind, and your purpose are sacred. When you learn to set clear boundaries, you are not pushing people away. You are simply creating the space necessary to protect the destiny within you and preserve the peace that keeps you healthy, focused, and strong. Every person was born with an assignment, a calling that demands focus and intentionality, but the truth is, distractions will always be present. People will always need your help, your advice, your presence, your resources, and sometimes even your silence. If you do not establish boundaries, you will end up living other people's lives instead of your own. You will waste years meeting everyone else's expectations while neglecting your own growth and vision. Boundaries are like fences that keep the valuable garden of your purpose safe. They are not walls of isolation, but gates of wisdom that allow you to decide what enters and what does not. When you don't set boundaries, resentment builds. You begin to feel drained, unappreciated, and even bitter because people constantly take from you without giving back. But the reality is, people can only take what you allow. If you constantly make yourself available without limits, you train others to believe your life is open for their control. On the other hand, when you respectfully communicate your boundaries, you teach others how to interact with you in a way that honors your time and respects your mission. This is not about being rude. It is about being intentional. A person with no boundaries is like a city with broken walls, vulnerable, defenseless, and easily invaded. Boundaries are also crucial for protecting your peace. Peace is one of the most valuable treasures you can have. Without peace, even success feels empty. Without peace, even relationships feel heavy. Without peace, your mind becomes restless and your body becomes weary. Yet peace does not just appear, it must be protected. And boundaries are the guardrails that keep unnecessary chaos, toxic people, and unhealthy environments from disturbing the calm within you. Sometimes protecting a peace means saying no to a job that pays well but drains your spirit. Sometimes it means limiting conversations with people who constantly complain, gossip, or bring negativity into your life. Sometimes it means turning off your phone disconnecting from social media or creating quiet time just to breathe, think, and reset. It is important to remember that boundaries are not punishments, they are protections. People who misunderstand your boundaries will often accuse you of being distant, arrogant, or difficult. But that is because they benefited from your lack of boundaries. When you begin to protect yourself, those who are comfortable exploiting you will resist. Yet those who truly value you will respect the space you create because they understand that boundaries make you better, not worse. In fact, boundaries often strengthen relationships because they remove the silent resentment and create clarity about what you can and cannot give. Establishing boundaries requires courage. It is not easy to say no, especially if you are used to pleasing others or fear disappointing them. But every time you say yes to something that does not align with your purpose, you are saying no to something that does. Every time you give your energy to things that do not matter, you rob yourself of the strength needed to pursue what does. Boundaries help you focus your limited time and energy on what truly moves your life forward. They remind you that you cannot do everything for everyone, but you can do the right things for the right reasons. Boundaries also create room for self-care, which is not a luxury, but a necessity. You cannot pour into others if you are empty. You cannot lead with clarity if you are overwhelmed. You cannot walk in purpose if you are distracted by constant demands. By setting boundaries, you give yourself the gift of rest, reflection, and renewal. This allows you to show up for others with more strength, more clarity, and more authenticity. Ironically, the more you protect your peace, the more valuable you become to those around you, because you are offering them your best instead of your leftovers. At the core, boundaries are an act of self-respect. They say, I honor the calling on my life enough to protect it. I honor my peace enough to preserve it. I honor my time enough not to waste it. Once you adopt this mindset, you stop feeling guilty for setting limits and start feeling empowered by them. You realize that protecting your purpose is not optional, it is essential. And in the end, the world does not need a burnt out, resentful, and depleted version of you. It needs the strongest, clearest, most peaceful version of you. That is why boundaries are not restrictions. They are the very lines that make your life purposeful, focused, and free. Availability without wisdom leads to exploitation. There is nothing wrong with being available to others. In fact, service and generosity are powerful virtues. But when availability is not guided by wisdom, it quickly becomes a trap that drains your energy, diminishes your value, and leaves you vulnerable to being used by people who only take without ever giving back. Many individuals confuse kindness with constant accessibility. They think that always being present, always saying yes, and always showing up makes them valuable. In reality, it often makes them targets for exploitation. Wisdom is the balance that helps you discern when to be available and when to step back, when to give and when to withhold, when to engage and when to protect your space. When you offer yourself without wisdom, people will not always appreciate your presence. Instead, they may come to expect it, even demand it, until your availability becomes an obligation instead of a gift. The truth is, people often value what they have limited access to, not what they can consume freely. Think about it, water is everywhere, but because it is common, people rarely appreciate it. Gold, on the other hand, is rare, and because it is not easily available, it is highly treasured. In the same way, when you give unlimited access to yourself without wisdom, others stop valuing your time and begin to take it for granted. Wisdom teaches you that your energy is not infinite. You cannot pour endlessly without refilling. If you constantly make yourself available, you eventually burn out, and instead of serving others with joy, you begin to feel resentment. That resentment is a clear sign that you have been exploited, not because people forced you, but because you failed to apply wisdom in managing your availability. Wisdom allows you to set priorities. It tells you, yes, help others, but not at the cost of your own well-being, your peace, or your purpose. It teaches you that saying no is not unkind. It is necessary. Exploitation often happens in silence. People will rarely admit they are using you. They will frame their demands as needs, emergencies, or even compliments. They will say, "You're the only one I can count on," or "You're always there for me." While those words may sound affirming, they often mask a deeper reality. They have learned to rely on your availability more than their own responsibility. Wisdom helps you see through this. It reminds you that empowering others does not mean carrying all their burdens. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back and let people face their own challenges so they can grow stronger. Another danger of unwise availability is the distraction it creates from your own calling. Every time you say yes to someone else's agenda, you are saying no to your own. Without realizing it, you can spend years helping others pursue their dreams while neglecting your own. Wisdom helps you evaluate, is this request aligned with my purpose, or is it pulling me away from it? Is this an opportunity to serve, or is it simply a distraction disguised as urgency? Not every open door is meant for you to walk through. Not every call for help is yours to answer. Without wisdom, availability makes you reactive instead of proactive, scattered instead of focused, drained instead of purposeful. It is also important to understand that not everyone who takes advantage of your availability is malicious. Some people simply do not realize the cost of your time and energy because you have never communicated it. When you are always available, people assume it is effortless for you, that you have no boundaries, no limitations, and no priorities of your own. This is why wisdom calls you to teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. When you respect your own time, others learn to do the same. When you draw limits, others adjust. And those who refuse to respect your limits reveal themselves as exploiters, not true supporters. Wisdom and availability also means learning the difference between being needed and being valued. Being needed makes you feel important, but it can be deceptive. People may need you today, but forget you tomorrow. Being valued, however, means that people recognize your worth beyond what you can do for them. The only way to shift from being needed to being valued is by applying wisdom. Stop giving everything away without measure. Stop saying yes when your heart says no. Stop stretching yourself for people who would not do the same for you. In the end, the lesson is clear. Availability is a blessing when guided by wisdom, but a curse when offered blindly. The goal is not to become selfish or unreachable. The goal is to manage your presence in such a way that it remains meaningful, impactful, and respected. If you are always available, you become common. But when your availability is selective, purposeful, and wise, you preserve your energy, protect your purpose, and command respect. People will stop exploiting you and start valuing you because they will see that your time and presence are treasures, not commodities. And when you master this balance, you will no longer be drained by endless demands. You will be empowered to give wisely, live peacefully, and walk confidently in your purpose. Your time and energy are currencies. Invest them wisely. Just like money, time and energy are limited resources. You cannot spend them endlessly without consequences, and once they are gone, you cannot get them back. Many people treat money with caution, budgeting carefully and planning every expense. Yet they spend their time and energy recklessly, giving them away to people, habits, and distractions that bring no return. The truth is, how you use your time and where you invest your energy will determine the quality of your life. If you waste them, you will live with regret. If you invest them wisely, you will live with fulfillment. Time is life measured in moments, and energy is the fuel that powers every action. Together they shape your destiny. Every day you are making investments, whether consciously or unconsciously. The conversations you engage in, the people you surround yourself with, the activities you choose, the thoughts you dwell on, all of these are withdrawals or deposits into the account of your future. If you treat time and energy casually, your life will lack direction. But if you treat them as valuable currencies, you will make choices that multiply your growth, protect your peace, and push you toward your purpose. The danger many fall into is believing that they have unlimited time. They postpone dreams, delay growth, and procrastinate on purpose, telling themselves there will always be tomorrow. But tomorrow is never promised. Every wasted hour is gone forever, and every ounce of energy poured into meaningless pursuits is energy you will never recover. Imagine if you only had a certain amount of money left to spend in your lifetime. Would you throw it away on things that don't matter? Of course not. Yet so many people do this with their time and energy, treating them as though they are infinite, when in fact they are precious and finite. Investing your time wisely means aligning it with your priorities. If something does not bring you closer to your purpose, improve your well-being, or strengthen your relationships, then you must question whether it deserves your attention. It is not that entertainment, relaxation, or casual moments are wrong. They are necessary. But when your life is dominated by things that do not serve you, you become bankrupt in the currency of purpose. Time spent on gossip, endless scrolling on social media, unhealthy relationships, or unproductive habits is like throwing coins into a fire. You get nothing back but emptiness. On the other hand, time spent learning, building, nurturing, and growing compounds into wealth that cannot be stolen. Energy works the same way. It is not only about how much you do, but about how well you manage what you give yourself to. Some people live in constant exhaustion, not because they are working hard, but because they are working without focus. They pour energy into people who drain them, into battles that are not theirs, and into goals that do not align with their calling. The result is burnout without breakthrough. Wisdom calls you to be selective about where you invest your energy. Ask yourself, does this relationship build me up or tear me down? Does this habit renew my strength or rob it? Does this pursuit bring me closer to who I want to become, or does it distract me from it? Like financial investments, wise use of time and energy requires discipline. It requires the ability to say no to quick pleasures that give no lasting value, and yes to the difficult choices that produce long-term reward. Waking up early to work on your vision, spending hours reading and learning, exercising to strengthen your body, resting intentionally to refresh your mind, these are all investments. They may not feel glamorous in the moment, but over time, they pay compound interest. On the other hand, wasted time and misused energy also compound, leading to regret, stagnation, and lost potential. Another crucial aspect of investing wisely is recognizing that not every demand is an opportunity. People will constantly ask for your time and pull on your energy. If you are not careful, you will end up living by their priorities instead of your own. Just because something is urgent to someone else does not mean it should be important to you. Protect your calendar. Protect your mental space. Learn to pause before committing and ask, does this align with my purpose? Will this investment of time and energy produce growth or just drain me? This simple act of reflection can save you from years of waste. It is also vital to recharge your energy. Just as money invested grows, when managed well, your energy grows when replenished. Rest is not laziness. It is an investment. Taking time to be still, to connect spiritually, to spend moments with loved ones, or to simply breathe deeply and reset allows your energy to multiply. Too many people pride themselves on being busy, but business without balance is bankruptcy in disguise. True productivity is not about doing more, but about doing what matters most with the strength you have. At the end of your life, you will not regret the money you did not spend, but you will regret the time you wasted and the energy you misused. That is why you must treat both as sacred. Time and energy are the currencies that build legacies, that shape destinies, and that define whether you lived meaningfully or just existed. Invest them where they matter, in your growth, your calling, your peace, and your impact, because once they are gone, no amount of wealth or opportunity can buy them back. Wise investments today create a future that you will thank yourself for tomorrow. Being rare makes you valuable. Being everywhere makes you common. The truth of life is that scarcity creates value, while overexposure reduces it. Think of the most precious things in the world: diamonds, gold, rare art, or ancient manuscripts. Their worth is not simply in their beauty or usefulness, but in their rarity. You cannot find them on every corner. You cannot touch them freely, and you cannot possess them easily. Their very scarcity elevates their importance. In the same way, your presence, your time, your gifts, and your energy carry a unique value. But when you make yourself too available, too accessible, and too common, you risk diminishing your worth in the eyes of others. To be rare is not about arrogance or pride. It is about recognizing your uniqueness and protecting it from being diluted by overexposure. Many people mistakenly believe that constantly being everywhere and for everyone will make them important. They think that saying yes to everything, being present at every event, answering every call, and giving unlimited access will make people admire them. In reality, it often has the opposite effect. The more common something becomes, the less people appreciate it. Just as air is essential but rarely valued because it is always available, your constant availability can make others overlook your significance. People respect what they cannot easily have. They admire what is not easily found. They treasure what requires effort to access. When you position yourself as rare, you elevate how others perceive and treat you. Rarity also preserves your strength. If you are everywhere, doing everything and being everything to everyone, you scatter your energy until nothing meaningful is left. You burn out and lose your effectiveness. But when you are selective about where you show up, who you invest in, and what you give your attention to, you preserve your uniqueness. People start to recognize that when you do show up, it matters. Your voice carries weight, your presence brings impact, and your contributions are remembered. Being rare multiplies your influence because it makes every encounter significant. Another layer of rarity is authenticity. In a world where so many try to copy trends, imitate others, and blend into the crowd, authenticity is rare. Being yourself unapologetically, standing firm in your values, and refusing to dilute your identity to fit in makes you stand out. That is where true rarity lies. People may not always agree with you, but they will respect you because you are not common, you are not a cheap imitation, you are a rare original. And just like rare art is priceless because it cannot be duplicated, your authenticity makes you invaluable. Being rare does not mean isolating yourself or withholding love and kindness. It means you are intentional about your presence. You understand that your time is a gift, your energy is precious, and your talents are treasures. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to those things. You must discern who values you and who merely uses you. The rarest treasures are locked in safes, protected with care, and only shared with those who recognize their worth. In the same way, when you treat yourself as rare, you do not waste your energy on environments that do not honor you. You become more discerning, and in doing so, you elevate your own value. This principle applies in relationships as well. When you are too available in friendships, family dynamics, or even romantic connections, people begin to take you for granted. They assume you will always be there, so they stop appreciating your presence. But when you learn to step back, to create space, and to be rare, people start noticing your absence. They realize your presence was never ordinary, it was extraordinary. They see that what you bring cannot be replaced, and that realization increases their respect for you. In the professional world, Rarity is also a key to success. If your skills are common, easily found, or cheaply offered, they are treated as disposable. But if you cultivate excellence in your craft, if you specialize in what few can do, you make yourself rare. And in doing so, you make yourself valuable. Employers, clients, and organizations pay for rarity. They pay for expertise, not mediocrity. They treasure uniqueness, not conformity. Being rare in your skills, your discipline, and your commitment elevates you far above the crowd of those who are everywhere but impactful nowhere. Ultimately, being rare is about stewardship. You have been given gifts, talents, time, and energy, but they are not infinite. If you scatter them carelessly, they lose their impact. If you protect them, nurture them, and release them wisely, they increase in value. Your rarity lies in the fact that there is only one you on this earth. No one else carries your exact combination of experiences, wisdom, voice, and vision. If you allow yourself to become common, you diminish that uniqueness. But if you treat yourself as rare, you honor the design placed inside of you and remind the world that you are not to be overlooked or undervalued. So choose to be rare. Choose to preserve your presence, your energy, and your uniqueness. Choose to show up where it truly matters and withdraw where it does not. Choose authenticity over imitation, excellence over mediocrity, and intentionality over overexposure. Because in the end, being everywhere makes you ordinary, but being rare makes you unforgettable. When you respect yourself, others learn how to treat you. The way you carry yourself, the standards you set, and the boundaries you enforce all become silent teachers that instruct people on how they should engage with you. Respect is not something you demand with words. It is something you command through behavior. If you do not honor yourself, people will mirror that lack of honor. If you belittle yourself, tolerate mistreatment, or shrink to fit into places you don't belong, others will follow your lead and treat you as if you are less valuable. But when you respect yourself consistently, when you live with dignity, when you hold yourself to a higher standard, people are compelled to recognize and adjust to the worth you carry. Respecting yourself begins internally. It starts with the thoughts you entertain about yourself, the way you speak to yourself, and the vision you hold for your life. If your inner dialogue is full of self-doubt, self-criticism, and self-neglect, it will spill over into your choices. You will accept relationships that don't honor you, jobs that undervalue you, and friendships that drain you. But if you cultivate a mindset of self-respect, affirming your value, acknowledging your potential, and refusing to compromise your dignity, that inner belief becomes visible to others. People can sense when someone values themselves and they respond accordingly. Every decision you make communicates your level of self-respect. For example, if you continually say yes to things that go against your priorities, you teach others that your time can be interrupted at will. If you tolerate disrespectful language from those around you, you silently communicate that it is acceptable. If you lower your standards just to fit in, you show that you don't see yourself as worthy of better. Conversely, when you honor your word, keep your commitments, guard your peace, and refuse to allow others to cross your boundaries, you establish a standard. People may not always like it, but they will come to respect it. One of the greatest challenges in life is the fear of losing people when you begin to respect yourself. The truth is, some people are comfortable with you being a doormat because it benefits them. When you decide to rise, to respect yourself, and to demand better, those individuals may walk away, and that is okay. The departure is not a loss, it is a filter. Those who truly value you will adjust to the new standard, while those who never did will remove themselves. Respecting yourself will always cost you some relationships, but it will reward you with peace, dignity, and healthier connections. Self-respect is also reflected in how you care for your body, your mind, and your spirit. If you neglect your health, indulge in destructive habits, or constantly ignore your need for rest, you communicate to the world that you do not see yourself